Hey, and welcome to this jazz guitar lesson. We're going to take a look today at using modes over Just Friends. Now, Just Friends is a tricky song. It doesn't start on chord 1, which often causes some confusion of how to solo over it. If you need to learn the chords or understand the harmony, then check out my previous lesson, link in the description, which goes through all of that. But the focus of today is what modes to use and a way that you can practice them to start to get to grips with using multiple scales. So just putting up the chart that we had in the last lesson on the screen, you can see the blue chords are in key, we're in the key of G, and the red chords are out of key. And what we can very simply do, now that we know the Roman numerals, we can apply the mode that fits that Roman numeral chord. So, if we're in the key of G, we have these following chords: G major 7, A minor 7, B minor 7, C major 7, D7, E minor 7, F sharp minor 7 flat 5, back to G. And that would go G major, the mode built off the 1 chord would be Ionian, the mode built off the 2 chord would be Dorian, the mode built off the 3 chord is Phrygian, the mode built off 4 chord is Lydian, the mode built off the 5th chord is Mixolydian, the mode built off the 6th chord is Aeolian, and the mode built off the 7th chord is Locrian. So those are the modes built off, if you like, the parent scale of G major. The G Ionian scale being the G major scale really, and then the A Dorian being a G major scale but played from A to A, so A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, same notes, and we carry that through. Say for instance D Mixolydian is the G major scale but from D to D, so D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, all different because they yield different intervals by starting a G major scale within different points. So those are the 7 modes of the major scale, and we can apply those modes to the chord types. If it's a 2 chord, we need a Dorian. If it's a 4 chord, we need a Lydian. So if we have that knowledge now, and then let's look at the chart and see what we would apply to it. So everywhere the 1 chord is, Ionian. Everywhere there's a 2 chord, even if it's out of key, Dorian. Everywhere there's a 5 chord, Mixolydian, and so on. And that's the way it works. And just for the opening 2 lines, so it would be, we're in the key of G, chord 4 is C major 7, that's where we start, so we need the 4th mode of the major scale, which is Lydian, which is this. Distinctive, because it's got this note, the raised 4th. That's the only different note to this in a C major scale. Why do we need that F sharp? Because we're in the key of G, G has 1 sharp, F sharp. The next chord is a minor 7 to a dominant, which is a 2-5 really, although it's kind of a backdoor as well. But so you want Dorian for the C, Mixolydian for the F, then we hit the G major 7, we want Ionian. Then we hit another 2-5, so we need Dorian, B flat Dorian, E flat Mixolydian. Then we need, what is it, A minor 7, Dorian, 2 chord, D Mixolydian, D7. You can see where this is going. This is a lot of scales, and I quite like these 1 octave positions. Like find a C and try and get that Lydian. I used to think when I first sort of got into modes, I need to learn the 5 positions of Lydian. I need to learn the 5 positions of Mixolydian. And it's like, well, yeah, you could do, or it's just much easier to learn 1 octave positions, and you can connect them up. It's fine. Just what I always think, just go with, right, can I find Lydian starting on the E string, A string, D string, D string, even a B string, and be flexible going between those ways. It's just a simpler way to think rather than thinking you need positions everywhere. Now all of those modes are vanilla inside choices. They will sound right, they will sound good at that moment. They won't necessarily offer all the tension and outside sounds you want in a jazz context, but that's what you add once you can play inside. And you can add chromaticism, and you could use different scales over those dominants to create more kind of altered sounds if you like, but you need to be able to do the basics first, which is just apply these modes. And one way I like to simplify things is to just ditch Dorian and just play Mixolydian. So if it was the first line where we've got a C Lydian over the C, when it gets to C minor 7 to F7, instead of using C Dorian and then F Mixolydian, I'm just going to use F Mixolydian. The 2 and the 5 are so interlinked. I mean, if you take, say for instance, F7, the notes are F, A, C, E flat, And if you take a C minor 7, the notes are C, E flat, G, B flat. So the C and the E flat are both shared notes between those chords. The G is the 9th of F7 and the B is the 4th. So if you add those notes to the F7, you kind of get an F9 sus4 sound. So, you know, the 2 and the 5, they're really interlinked, so you can get away with just using mixed Lydian instead of having to think of Dorian then mixed Lydian. So that will cut out lots of thinking, which would give us, just for the first line, you know, 2 bars of Lydian, 2 bars of mixed Lydian, which is a bit easier than 2 bars of Lydian, 1 bar of Dorian, 1 bar of mixed Lydian. And for me, the best way to think about all these modes is intervallically. Like, if I think of Lydian as, oh, it's my finger goes there, it's that fingering, it's that shape, it's not going to help. You know, the best thing you can do is learn this is a C, this is a D, E, F sharp, G, but not only that, this is a root, and there's a major second, there's the major third, there's a sharp 4, there's the perfect 5th, and so on. And that's transferable across the neck. You just have to watch at the point of crossing between the G and the B, because of the intervals of the open strings. The next thing I'm going to do I would call running the scales, running the modes, or doing a scale outline, which is where you play to the chords, either to a backing track or without. It's quite good to do without actually, and just outline the modes with eighth notes, and just trying to find the right mode for the right chord. So I'm just going to do the A section so you can hear that, and I'll put the music on the screen, which you can download the tablet notation for. Thinking that's an exercise, that's not a solo, that's not something very musical, and you'd be right, because it's just about building a good foundation. You need to be able to pull out those modes at the right time. You need to know what Lydian sounds like. As soon as you play this chord, you want to be able to either hit it with an Ionian or a Lydian as a basic. Major 7, there's 2 modes, you know, it's either functioning as a 1 chord or a 4 chord, so it either needs Ionian or Lydian as just a basic start. So it's about programming the sound. As you see there, I was trying to link them, so there were times when I stuck the odd chromatic note in, I went to the nearest note of the next mode, which does make it a little bit more musical, but you might need to just start off right really slowly, right, Lydian, mixed Lydian, and you know, maybe sing them, get used to them, know the intervals, know the notes. It doesn't take long before these intervals take hold and they really grip you, and you can hear them. You get used to the character, what defines each mode, what's the the character, and you know, some are more interesting than others. So one way you could do this is, first off, is practice your modes from a very basic view, which is just find the root first, Lydian, mixed Lydian, so the F. So just take the first 2 modes, we'll do this for. Then find the root in second. Both of those go root to major second. Then take root second, third. So that's the root second, third of Lydian, root second, third of mixed Lydian, root third, fourth. This is where they get different. That's Lydian, this is mixed Lydian. Then fifth. And you can keep going obviously with that pattern, but the idea would be just to get used to small groups of it and make things up with those small units and cells. So you've got 2, then 3, 4, 5. Let's just try and make some melodies with these basic cells of the scale. So we're just taking away the idea of 7 notes of each mode to play with and just a couple. And the thing you learn here by doing this is you learn the similarities and differences, like learning, okay, so Lydian has a sharp 4 but mixed Lydian doesn't, and Aeolian doesn't, and so forth. So here's my first example, just using the second and first of each chord for the first 2 lines. And what we're going to do is start on the second and create a line which uses exactly the same intervals from each scale. So it was a very simple line, but it worked, and it was more melodic and it was more interesting than going. I did say something basic, albeit, but you can hear basic and you gradually add to what you can hear, and you can start to hear more as you play with more of the scale by gradually adding notes. Start with 2, then 3. Let's try and make a melody with 3. Lydian, C, D, E, mixed Lydian, F, G, A, G Ionian, G, A, B, and then E flat mixed Lydian, E flat, F, G. And you can hear the movement there. And you can hear that those lines all sound the same, obviously, because they're the same intervals. They're not exactly the same intervals, but the same 1, 2, 3 from each respective scale. So let's come up with a little melody and put that over it and see what it sounds like. So you can obviously hear those ideas followed on from each other, and you can see where you could go with this. But you could just start really simply. Let's say let's just play those in order: 1, 2, 3. Gradually build up the scale, but make sure you don't just work on finger positions and where things are, work on what the sound's like practice singing what you're doing. Da, 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 da. Then do it down, gradually add in notes. What about if I go, instead of going 1, 2, 3, what if I go 1, 3, 2? Do, da, do, da, da, do, da, do, do, da, do. You can hear the ideas I mean. Hopefully this lesson has raised some questions about how you're practicing, how you're engaging with scales, how you're working with them. It's not an easy route. It's not as easy as say, oh, there's a few licks, there's that, but it's actually learning to engage with the scales in a musical way. What the trickiest bit is weaning yourself off making it sound like an exercise. So the first way I played it when I did sort of the first way I played it when I did the sort of scale exercise, scale running, that stuff, it's still valuable to be able to do, but you have to make sure you don't stay in that area too long, and that you go that next stage, which is, okay, I know how to find it on the neck, I know the notes in it, I know the intervals, now let's work on saying something with it. Work with a very small bit of it first, root in second, then root in third, then add the fourth and the fifth, gradually work up to all of the notes, and work on hearing, being able to move within that scale freely, not always starting from the root, varying the order you play it, picking out the notes which are characterful. And then what needs to come later is how you weave between the chords, how you link them up nicely with close movements. But that's probably a topic for another time. Anyway, don't forget to grab the tab and notation that I put on the screen from my website, and the chart of Just Friends with the scale analysis on it too. Thank you for tuning in. If you're new here, my name's Andy and I do jazz guitar lessons every Wednesday and Saturday. Hope to see you again soon. Take care.